get to see, yeah, you actually get to see a platform coming up, and maybe you could see your suggested or probably past conversation of how something like a shoe that you wanted to buy coming up on your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your YouTube platform or whatever. It could be on your search engines or whatever. You need to understand that every single part of that information you are getting is actually a work of API, and it has automatically been connected to the website. And just like you've signed an agreement on getting to install, because some people do not read um, when they're actually getting to agree to the terms and condition of installing different type of software application. So when you get to install those software application and platforms, you need to understand that you have accepted to making this application interact with each other using APIs, using SDK, and all of that. So you need to understand that there's a difference between APIs and SDKs, because so many people do mistake this particular um, infrastructure to they do mistake it to each other. People think that APIs are SDKs and SDK are API. So what you need to understand is that APIs are basically they're basically endpoints. I wouldn't say endpoint, but yeah, they're more like endpoints. They kind of um produce or provide a contract of contact with an external application or software or hardware, so that the user or consumer wouldn't have to leave that platform itself to actually go do that. For example, on your Twitter, you can actually want to pay for Twitter Blue. You could simply click on I want to pay for Twitter Blue, and then it will take you automatically. It moves you straight to Stripe page, or maybe to where you have to fill your details, whether you're using MasterCard or Visa or using Vape or whatever. So all of this really, really comes down to the API, and API basically does that. But then SDK is actually used to build the infrastructure that is actually running this particular API. Now, you need to understand that the SDK is more like a toolkit, and it is actually built on top of APIs. So it makes it developers for them to actually use this. So every single thing is more like it's kind of like it's more like sample, it's more like testing tools. So you need to understand that developers actually make use of SDKs so that they can actually get to test how APIs work. They need to use this to understand if these particular APIs would actually be beneficial to them. Are they actually using these to build? Would it actually make sense for them to integrate it to their database platform, to their financial platform, to their gaming platform, to their blockchain platform, to their cloud platform, or whatever? So it comes down to what type of need do the developers have. Your job as a technical writer isn't just to go write about this. Your job is to understand the core needs, the questions that developers are going to ask. And you don't just have to go into thinking, oh, how am I actually going to do this? As a technical writer, you're not trying to sell, you're not selling. What you are doing is you're educating, you are onboarding, you are trying to make people to understand the product and to also make their experience seamless and comprehensive. So when you're trying to create a technical writing piece, or you're trying to document for developers, everything always have to be on point. It always have to be on fact. And just to actually make it very simple for you, APIs are more like contract, or I would say what, or like I don't know how to put it. It's more like contract for communication between two external products, or two platforms or apps or softwares or hardwares. The same thing with your phone, your mobile card, and your PC. Those are two hardwares different. The same thing with Stripe API, Payments API, or OPay Payments API, for example, and your Twitter platform itself. These are two different platforms. So you can actually get to do it on that, without having to worry about moving to another platform. For example, you can make payments to your Blue account without having to leave that platform. And then SDKs, they are basically these tools that are already made, that are already produced and built so that developers don't have to go in and build everything from scratch. You go in there and test it. It's just like um, a simulator, but then it actually helps to make your work easy. You can actually use it to build your own project. You can use it to actually get to run these APIs. The thing is that when people are actually using SDKs, it actually makes them to really understand how the API works in the very simple and the most comprehensive way, because so many people actually build, so many companies, they do build APIs, but then they actually don't have like SDKs, they don't have like toolkit for people to actually get to use and interact. And that's where the job of a technical writer could come into actually exist, because as a technical writer, there are platforms that do not necessarily have SDKs, they just have API. The job could be there to go in there and write how to actually get to use this API and interact with that platform. For example, I'm going to say like Figma and all of that. There are probably SDKs and all of that, but then there are certain platforms that don't necessarily have people building SDK, because SDK is actually another particular development on its own. So they are people that technical writers come in to fill that gap by helping to build work with engineers for them to simplify the onboarding process of developers or engineers. So if you are looking to go into technical writing, or you are looking to start your career, or maybe move alongside as a technical writer, you need to understand that there are so many things you can do. It's not just about writing. You need to channel it down to a particular focus and then try to understand the product. You don't write because you're trying to you need to understand the technology. You can't write about something you don't understand. That's one thing about technical writing. Technical writing is different from blog writing, it's different from blogging, it's different from ghostwriting and all of that. Technical writing is based on facts. Like I said, it's based on it's a universal thing. So, like I said, yes. So then, one thing you need to understand is that people actually can actually get to do more than just be technical writers. You can actually get to write about a tool that you use, and you can actually get to go in there by writing a technical guide on how it actually helped you achieve what you want to do. That's why most times, if you're trying to use an app or anything, they'll tell you, hey, someone actually wrote a guide on this. Do you mind checking it out? Or could you actually go check it out? Or maybe you search on Google and then you see so many options of different technical guides. And if you notice something, when you're looking for something or maybe a guide and it's technical, it always has a particular pattern. Um there is always a particular pattern. Step one is always step one, step two is always step two. But then there are always different routes to take. But then everything will always get to land in the same outcome. So that's one thing you need to understand and you need to know. So then we actually have to move down into how do you actually get to start writing for developers. I should have done this, but I really went deep down to say so much. So yes, you need to understand that as a technical writer or someone that is a beginner, you have to learn Markdown. That is Markdown writing. And Markdown writing is basically a type of format that is being used to write technical articles and technical documentation. And you also need to learn how to read project readmes. This you can actually get to check on GitHub. Now I know some person might probably be having questions. Hey, how can I actually get to do this? How do I get to start writing and all of that? I have actually put down a resource which I'm going to send, and I'm going to post it on my Twitter. So anybody that probably wasn't able to join this call would actually get to have access to it. So you okay? Seems like someone actually has. Okay, okay, your question. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad I was able to pick that up before you even asked. So yeah, you need to understand that in as much as there are um so many people looking to move into it, you need to start by understanding how to write in Markdown. And it's not really that complicated. So you have to go on GitHub. I'm going to drop a link. So everything will be comprehensive, simple. Immediately I power on my PC. I really do want to apologize. I should have done. We are probably going to have a version 2 of these. I am actually looking forward to doing that this week. Um, Today is, yeah, probably looking to that. This is a new week, probably looking to do that before the end of this week. We are going to have a more technical workshop, so that those that are looking to start technical writing as fast as possible can start doing that by contributing to open source. A second. I'm trying to read the message. Yeah, are going to start doing that to open source projects as fast as possible. And yeah, you need to start with fixing small edits, like fixing typos, improving sentence. So many people think that technical writing is about trying to sound smart, trying to complicate things. For example, it's a power bank. You don't actually go in and say, um okay, okay, for example, I bought a power bank. You don't say I purchased a power bank. I mean, there are certain things to that. For example, it's a power bank. It's used for charging your phone, or maybe it's used to power whatever it is. You don't actually go in as a technical writer to say to complicate it or try to use big words or anything. It has to be something that is universally accepted technically for developers. So everything has to be technically facts. It has to be on technical facts. Everything has to be comprehensive and understandable. So then you also need to be able to create quick start guides. You can start with simple apps that you're interacting with, simple apps that you are actually using. For example, you can start with how you are actually able to for example, change from dark mode to light mode, like on Twitter or something like that. I'm trying to like make it as simple as possible for people that do not actually have an idea of what technical writing is, because it's tech writing and you are writing for technologies. So it doesn't matter the tool, the platform, and all of that. But as a developer, as a developer documentation engineer or developer documentation writer, you're always going to be on the technical side of things, because you cannot write for developers if you are not developer inclined. It doesn't actually mean that you have to push to production, but all I'm trying to say is you need to understand the technology that they're building with. For example, if developers are working with a programming language as JavaScript, you need to be able to read and understand JavaScript. It doesn't mean you have to be able to program in JavaScript, but then you need to understand if they are actually trying to um do a particular feature or build a particular feature. You need to understand how that feature works, the skeleton of that feature. How are you able to simplify this so that developers won't be able to use that, so that developers will be able to use that to also onboard themselves to your product. And then for somebody that is looking to advance in their career, or maybe like build a strong career and all of that, you can do more than just writing technical documentation. There are so many tools like DocuSeries and MKDocs and like Gitbook. People actually use those tools and get to, they are basically called documentation systems, or short form as docs systems. People use those tools to actually get to build documentation. I use the word build because you would actually be including demos. And one thing you need to know is that so many people, so many companies are now encouraging, it is actually encouraging and advisable to also include video tutorials, video guides on how you can actually use a particular product. Nothing makes a user's onboarding experience or developer experience as amazing as getting to have different form of content, whether it's written, whether it's video, whether it's audio, on how to use a particular product. They're always going to run back to you. They're always going to be addicted to using your product. So to be a very good technical writer, you need to be very adaptable in nature. You need to be able to try out new things every single day, just to make sure that the people that you're writing for, developers, they are always satisfied by actually getting to digest that particular content of yours, technical content of yours. So yes, there are so many tools you can actually get to use in technical writing. We have authoring tools, we have documentation site generators, we have hosting sites, we have contribution platforms, we also have browser tools, and then I'm going to like go like brief down all of these. In terms of like tools and platforms, you need to understand that all of these actually, you don't really need to use every single thing. Your job as a developer, sorry, as a technical writer or a developer, documentation writer or engineer, is not to try to use every single thing. But if it includes using every single thing you can, just to make your developer experience as seamless as possible. Developer experience is almost like saying user experience, but then the focus on developer experience is about getting to build with the technology that you are working for or you are working with. Now, just like we have user experience comes down with how you feel when you are using Twitter. How do you actually interact with Twitter? While developer experience is focused on how are developers able to build and integrate Twitter to their social media platforms, to their payment apps, to their shopping apps, and all of that. So developers actually have their own experience. That is when it comes down to the technologies that they're building and using. And then users actually have their experience when it comes down to interacting with the apps. So just to make it easy, developer experience is focused on the experience that developers are building with your tools, building on emphasis. And then user experience is how users feels, or I would say consumers feel interacting on that platform or with that platform. So just to make it easy. And then we actually have authoring tools, that is on tools and platforms. We have Markdown, which is basically a type of, I would say, a type of format you actually use in actually writing. And there is actually a format for that, which I'm still going to include in this particular walkthrough guide, which I'm going to send and also post on Twitter. Then we have static site, that's documentation site generators such as Docusaurus and Phoenix, and all of them, they do have different programming languages, just to kind of emphasize, they actually have different programming language that they are being built on or being built with. So just like you have Docusaurus, you have Phoenix, and just like you have Phoenix, you also have Gitbook and all of that. So you don't necessarily have to uh use every single tool. Your job is to use a tool that will make things easier for you and easier for developers. Someone will be like, hey, I thought technical writing was just writing and posting on Medium and blogs and all of that. Yes, you can actually also write and post on Medium. You can post on Ashnote. You can post on Twitter and all of that. And you can still write technical articles by doing trends. For example, you can make a trend on Twitter and then write a technical guide on how to integrate a particular tool. It's still a technical guide because the same guide, if you move on from that platform and go to the documentation side is more of a virtual or online manual for developers to use when they are trying to build on a particular platform or with a particular platform's technology. So you need to understand that. And then we actually have hosting sites. There are so many hosting sites. You can host your documentation, you can host your writing, you can host whatever it is. The goal is always to make sure that the platform that you're hosting, okay, yeah, hosting is basically where people are always going to readily have access to. the type of content, technical content that you are creating, you're writing, or you are actually producing for developers or anybody that is technically inclined in that particular product or trying to use or build that product. So there are different types of hosting platforms. We have GitHub, we have GitHub, and GitHub I do yeah GitHub, we do have GitHub pages. GitHub pages actually help people that do not necessarily have to go buy or build a website from scratch. They could simply get to use Markdown and deploy the site and then run it via GitHub pages, and you can actually get to access it via search engine or whatsoever, as far as it has actually been published to public view. And then we have your website, we have Notion, we have Google Docs. There are so many hosting platforms. You can even host it on Notion. You can host it on your whatever. But then you need to understand that when you're actually creating a technical documentation, it always has to be on a platform where your product is being built on. You can actually go in and actually get to documents on Twitter when your platform actually has a website, and then people are actually using that product or developers are using it on that particular platform. So you need to understand that. And then we actually do have tools where you don't necessarily need to install. You simply have like GitHub, like I said, but then for um you to actually get to do like your markdown writing, we have GitHub Dev, just like you have what we call Visual Studio. The Visual Studio is like Canva, is like Canva for designer. Okay, Canva is for designers, Visual Studio is for developers. Anybody can use any of that, but particularly these are the set of people that make use of this particular product software. So what we do have offline, or I would say installed application where you can actually get to do your markdown and all that. When you're doing contribution to open source, it's always going to be you actually getting to use tools like Visual Studio and using tools like GitHub Dev, which is actually a developer format, a developer environment, like a developer environment like Visual Studio on GitHub, for you to actually get to do whatever you want to do, just like you would do it offline, and everything would automatically get published to your documentation site, and you can host it on that particular platform, which is GitHub. We do have Replit, which you can actually get to do use for live coding. You can use it for anything you want to do. I actually wanted to mention that, but then I felt like it was really unnecessary at this point. And then yeah, there's so many opportunities you can actually get to have to digest, sorry, to actually get to have access to as a technical writer. There's so many things you can actually get to do. You can actually contribute to projects. You can actually get to contribute to open source. You can actually get to write about projects, hosting, and all of that. I'm not going to talk about like paying or whatever. That is always up to you yourself. The goal is you getting to know how to do this before getting to um, decide where you can actually get to distribute your skill set to. If you actually know how to do it, then I feel like distribution should actually be secondary. So yeah, in terms of like what can you actually get to do as a technical writer, there are so many things you can do as a technical writer. You can fix typos, you can fix missing or broken links. For example, a website could be www Facebook, and maybe it has no dots and then com, like www Facebook and nothing. You can actually go in as a technical writer to the README file, for example, and fix that. And you've done that. You've contributed. You have done what it is to be a technical writer. You have helped to simplify and make developer experience seamless, and to avoid any kind of threshold or whatever they might experience trying to run or build with that particular platform. Then, if you're a technical writer, you can also contribute code to a platform. If you feel like the code is not simplified enough, even though it's doing exactly what is needed to, you can go in there and contribute to the developer platform itself. And of course, they say that the burst, I don't know, but I don't want to say any opinion burst thing right now. But then engineers, software engineers are always going to understand what it is when they're trying to read through a code base. So you need to understand that when you're writing or contributing code, you need to know the kind of technology that you're using. There's so many programming language out there. And as a technical writer, your job is not to know every single one of them. Your job is to understand the one that you're actually working with, so that when you're trying to document for the developers, you are able to do it for them seamlessly. And yeah, you can actually get to add tutorials to already existing tutorials on a platform. You create quick starter guides for developers. You can also reorganize docs so that the readability of that particular platform can be easy. Probably they actually put their launch at the end instead of it actually getting to be in the middle, but you can actually go in there and indicate that it's supposed to be in the middle. It helps to make the experience seamless. Then you can also add things like screenshots, you can add diagrams, you can actually add what we call videos, which I actually mentioned earlier. It actually really helps developers to really understand. They don't necessarily have to go in looking for technical support, which is actually a good thing, because if you're a technical writer, you need to actually know that you would also be playing a part as a developer support engineer, or I would say customer support engineer, because developers, well, I don't want to use customer, but then there are actually people that are actually customers for different tools, different platforms like B2Bs and B2Cs and all of that. They are building consumer developer platforms. People can actually get to, we have consumer developer tools and all of that. So people can actually get to go in there and use that particular product and actually use that. Your job could be for you to stay active on the Discord channel or Telegram group or Slack or whatever, and then get to respond feedback based on the materials that you have produced in the past, so that they will be able to use them. For example, I'm going to use payment platforms like OPay, like your Grab, or whatever platform you use for payments. Those platform, when you actually go to the customer support, maybe you sent your money and then you are not able to get refunded back, or maybe it gets to hang somewhere or whatever. That particular process where you have to go, the people that are actually coming there, they're actually giving you technical support, and they work hand in hand with the technical developers, because the resources that has actually been created are being made by the technical writers, so that they can actually use that to make you comprehend and feel more safe using that product. Of course, going back to it when you have issues. So you need to understand that you would always be working hand in hand with developers, engineers. You need to understand what they're building. You need to stay updated. You need to ask them questions that the users will ask, and also ask yourself, because when you're writing and also trying to implement, you're not just doing it because you want to do it for the job. You're doing it because you want to make their work easier for them. So you can actually get to automate process for your technical documentation, just like we have season one for movies. We have, sorry, for shows. We have season two. We have season three. We have season four. The same thing with documentation for technical articles. Like I said in the very beginning of when we started this call, we have what we call features, updates, and all of that development to help increase productivity level, to make things faster, to increase versatility, a new integration, a new feature, a new language, something as simple as having a French version of a particular tool, Yoruba version, having a German version, having Igbo version, and all of that. Every single one of that, just like you have, for example, like I'm going to use Facebook, for example, you have Hausa, you have Yoruba. People that the person that wrote the English version for Facebook user interface isn't the same person. Probably is, but isn't the same person that is actually doing the same thing for Yoruba, for German, for for French or whatever, every single one of those languages, they are actually being implemented by technical writers, people that are actually working hand in hand with the designers and content developers on that particular platform. So they work hand in hand to make sure that every single thing is based on fact. For example, you can actually call the block or delete button A in French, but then in English, it is actually C. It also needs to be A in English, French, or whatever language. The only thing it has to that has to change is that when you're writing a technical guide, whether you're actually, because sometimes most of the time you could actually be writing for technical audience, but then for different language, your job as a technical writer could differ. Your job could be to break language barrier by creating technical content. There are so many platforms that are looking for technical writers to come in and actually break the barrier of language by trying to write and maybe try to simplify the onboarding processes for developers that actually be on that platform. So you need to understand that this is really, really necessary to help you, to help the people that are using that product to better understand that. And then we have what we call hackathons and open source events. Hackathons are basically uh, events, could be virtual, it could be in person, and they're all hosted and carried out so that people can actually get to build within a community, a company, ecosystem, probably using API, which I believe we all know what it is now, SDK, and then using that to integrate it into their product. And most of the time, hackathons are being created to increase involvement, active participation among developer communities. This really helps them to go in there and build on this, and then they actually get rewarded for that. It increases the usage of that particular tool and technology. And also, hackathons aren't, they are not necessarily just belts, because so many people think that hackathons are just for people to build and use. Most of the time, hackathons are being done so that companies can easily get to spot the flaws, the bugs, the thresholds that these developers are facing before they actually push these particular technologies, probably SDK or API, to the global market, or before they scale it up higher, so that they would avoid the problems that was probably done this. Sometimes you would see a company would probably launch a product, they'll have a demo version, they'll have version one, they'll tell, okay, you are, for example, you are using your phone, there's something we call test flight, where you get to test your products and all of that. Developers actually get to, or I'm going to use something as basic as that, because that's not necessarily developers, but then users or consumers get to use that product. For example, you could see something that could be, hey, we have Haley testers, we have people that need to do like Haley bits or something like that. You simply have to input your email, and then when it get launched, you get access to it, and then you move into this particular product, and then you get to interact with it. This actually really helps the people that are building that particular platform to use the data and information that they have gotten from you interacting, building, or doing whatever with it, to use and improve that, so that developer experience will be more seamless and more productive for you. Most times, certain companies and organizations really do not understand how to go through that. Most of them actually do have engineers that just build but do not really understand how to simplify this, because most times engineers are always thinking in complex terms. We have we have just um we have people that are actually engineers that are actually good in technical writing, people that are actually very good at simplifying things, but there are also engineers that are actually good at creating complex systems, but they can't really break it down for beginner and developer users or builders to come in and actually get to build with that platform. For example, we have people that are core Java engineers, core Python engineers, core Golang engineers, core Solidity engineers, and all of that. But then the work of your work as a technical writer could be to come in and create a guide on how they can actually get to. You could even get, you can, most of the time, you would always be part of the development process. That is by creating sample kits, sample demos, and also sample API test guide so that they would actually be able to use these, and it helps them in their onboarding process and all of that. And then in terms of hackathons, you can actually get to um, contribute to hackathons, and all these single activity, it actually really helps you to improve as a technical writer. It helps you to understand what it is like to work with developers. It helps you to understand what it is like to use these technologies without you having to build on that particular platform. The question would be, do I have to be technical? Do I have to know computer science? Do I have to do this? Not necessarily. But the truth is that when you are actually able to understand how a technology works, it doesn't really matter your background, and you're able to break down the complex systems into very well understood form so that developers will be able, like I said, developers will be able to use that to build. You make it even more better for them. It makes things easier. So the goal is not necessarily about your background, not that the goal is how able are you actually able to use the resources. You can actually get to be a technical writer if all you do is simply going down to pick a particular guide and start writing when you don't actually know, or maybe just take screenshot. You need to understand how it works. You need to be able to explain and break the complex system into step-by-step guides so that they will be able to use that. So for hackathons such as October 1st, which is actually happening by October, and I'm going to send the link right now. Okay. Yeah. Ask your question. Um, hold on. Ask your question. Yeah, Obi.
Okay. James, sir.
Yeah. Good evening.
Okay. Thank you for the wonderful section. I really enjoyed it. While you were saying things about technical writing, I just want to ask, is like someone now in his final year doing his different projects. Is it like part of it? Is it also can it be technical writing also? And the second one is if you're writing for grants, is writing for grants also a technical writing or is a whole different thing?
Writing for brands, writing for organizations. Like what type of writing? Are you writing are you writing how to use something in the brand? And what is the brand based on?
No, 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 not not writing for brand, like writing for grants. Grants.
Grants. Okay, okay. Writing for grants. Now, when you were talking about writing for grants, there are different types of writing for grants. Are you writing for grants in terms of proposal, or are you writing technical articles so that you can get a grant? Which do you actually mean here?
Okay, let me just I don't really know. Let me make you understand. It's like writing, let's say we have a project. So we want
Okay,
to write like a grant for the project. So I don't
okay,
know how it's proposal or technical writing. But I think
okay,
it's proposal.
okay, okay. Now, like I said, um, there are different types of writing. And from what you are saying, it doesn't come off to me as technical writing, except you are writing for a particular tech stack, or maybe you're writing for a particular technology, and then they're actually saying that you guys should write for this particular project on how to use the platform, or maybe it's a technical platform. But then you need to understand that technical writing has different focus. Okay, we have developer documentation, which I have actually been talking so much about. So if you're writing for grants, if you're writing for grant, you need to make sure that if you're writing for it, are you writing for developers, are you writing for engineers, or are you writing for grants? Are you writing to educate? Is it based on already available features on the platform of the platform itself? It's not writing about how to um be part of that platform or whatever. What you need to understand is that if you're writing a technical article, it needs to be universally acceptable. It's universally known. It's not based on fact. It's not based on ideologies. It's not based on anything. Everything is fact. It's based on available feature, data, and whatever you're writing. So if you're writing for grants, fair enough, that's good and that's really amazing. But then there are so many there are so many differentiation to whether you're writing but what type of content type, because like I said, content writing is an umbrella, and there are different branch to it, and technical writing is actually a part of it. So if you right now you're already a little bit question, like if you're already questioning what exactly, then it's probably, that's my assumption. I might be wrong. It's probably not technical writing, because if you're doing technical writing, you know exactly what you're writing about. You get, so I don't actually think it's technical writing. But if it's definitely technical writing, you will probably have told me, hey, okay, I'm writing for a project, and this project probably you are doing it for maybe primary reason, not to tell me exactly what you're writing, which I do respect. But then if you're writing for a project, let's say you're writing for something as simple as, okay, let me say Twitter API, for example. You're writing about Twitter API, and then how to integrate Twitter API and use it with AI. Now that is actually technical writing. Okay, that's technical writing, and you're writing that for a grant. But then this technical writing you're writing, it has to be implemented successful. It doesn't have to be based on hypothesis or whatsoever. Okay, so it's not an experiment, except you are trying to test or see what it's going to be like using that particular product or technology you're writing about. I don't know if I answered your question.
Alright, sir. Yes, sir, you did. But sir, what about
Okay.
the other one about final year trying to do that on defense projects? Can they implement technical
Okay.
writing as
Okay. If it depends on what you're doing. Are you studying computer science, or are you doing something that is technical? Like, I don't think writing difference project is technical writing. When you're doing technical documentation, you're writing for developers. You're writing to educate developers to use that tool. You're not writing to defend a project. Difference is based on research and all of that. Technical writing can be based on research, but then data has to before it has to be it's not really that complicated. It has to be universally accepted. It doesn't have to be opinion based. There is a 99% possibility that your defense project is based on research, of course, available data. But then the data, whatever you're writing about, it always has to aim at developers having to be successful when they are actually coming across it. So if you are doing a difference project and you are looking to say, oh, is this technical writing piece or whatsoever, can a developer and engineer use this and implement it in whatever it is that they want to do and be successful in it? For example, are you trying to build a gateway, a payment? Are you trying to write a technical guide on how to implement a payment gateway? And then, if this is true, are developers going to successfully do this? Has it been proven and tested? Have you tested it yourself? Have you done it yourself? Is it successful? So that's it. I don't know. Did I answer that?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, let me answer. Okay. Yeah. Ofe. Yeah, you can ask your question. Yeah, you can unmute. Ofe.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gordian, for this class. Thank you so much because I actually learned a lot. So my question is coming from the angle of me not knowing like basic understanding of the whole technical word. I actually learned about how I think on the first day we learned about how Web3 is an open source and I don't know anything on that. And also when you're talking about GitHub and the rest, is it like a basic or necessary how will I put this now, a guide or it I want to, okay, let me put this in a way that to make sense to me, like something like I want to start technical writing and I see certain words that I don't understand, is it like a course that I can take on it first that will make me understand this basic code? Or in between, I can just go to my Google, oh, what's the meaning of this word? Then I'll come back to do what I'm doing. Or is it something that you will learn with time? Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. That's actually an amazing question. So yes, you can actually learn technical writing. There are courses. Google actually has a Google technical writing course. It teaches you how to do Markdown, how to write technical. It introduces you to those words, how to work with different programming languages and all of that. So yes, there is actually a manual course guide for you to do that, which I am also going to include, which I do apologize. I should have actually done that on this call, but we are going to have a second version with this. I'm going to talk with the coordinator and see how we can actually get to make that possible. And there would actually be an announcement on X, because this isn't supposed to be like a one-time thing, so that those that are actually looking to get started, probably, yeah, open source and all of that, they can actually get to do that. So yes, you don't have to learn along the way. Yeah, you can actually get to learn along the way, but then you also have to understand what exactly you're learning. You're not just learning because you're learning. It has to be based on take the technical terms, the technical side of things that you're actually dealing and working with. And you always have to mostly understand how they work most of the time. So uh, not most of the time, you always need to understand how they work. Like, it's necessary for you to understand how they work, and you can actually get to do this. Just like we have courses for social media management, for community management, for software engineering, there are also courses for technical writing. Did I answer your question? Yeah. All right. Perfect. So, someone asked the question. Uh, someone asked the question. How does one curate proof of work to showcase his experience in technical writing? Is there any certificate needed? Let me be honest with you. Nobody actually really cares about your technical writing certificate. Anybody can get a technical writing certificate, but only a few person can actually get to educate and simplify complex technology. Like I said, because I always say, it's something that I do say. Um, I don't know how to put it. Just like you have footballers, there are people that can actually get to play football so well, but they can't teach. But there are people that can actually play and teach. So it's not necessarily all about you actually getting to do it so well, or sorry, learn it. Just like someone can actually get to go to school, finish a course and all of that. It doesn't necessarily so that you can actually do it. You have to get into the job market, have experience, or maybe you must have done something in the past or whatsoever. The same thing, you would say you can actually get to instruct someone on how to swim if you haven't swum before. So you need to understand how to swim before you swim. It's almost like a fish kind of like basically that. So yes, you do need proof of work to showcase what you can do, but proof of work can actually start with you contributing to Oktoberfest, um, like open source. Like I said, for an example, which we are going to have a call this week again, so that I can actually make that very comprehensive, and then I'm going to do a walkthrough on my PC, which I'm going to do, then you will actually make use of that plus the resource that I'm going to be dropping. And then the certificate would also be included in it, as well as projects that you can actually get to contribute to. There is actually a website which would also be out there on October 1st, when starting on 1st October, for you to start contributing. All you need to do is go look for your favorite project, and then you actually get to use them to build and contribute to whatever kind of platform you want to do. So it helps make things easier for you and better. And of course, it makes you learn faster because you are actually writing for developers. And when you're writing, you understand the technology, how it works. You write as if you don't write based on how you feel. You write based on how you don't write based on how anything. You write it to make sure that developers understand how to use that product. What can they do with it? And your goal as a technical writer is not about developers enjoying, feeling sad, or anything. You do not care about the emotions of developers. Your goal should be to make sure that there is actually a successful onboarding to that technology or tool for every single developer that is digesting that product. So you always have to go through different routes. Is it in videos? Is it in articles? Is it in is it in audible? It's not audible. Is it in audio like video guides? Is it in tutorial guides? Is it in how to guides? Is it in readmes? Is it in SDK demos? And all of that, every single one of them. So yeah, you would actually need to have that at the back of your mind if you are trying to go in deep. And someone said, "May you please share the link to your X account?" Since you said you will share everything there. Okay, so here is my X account. Okay, okay. So I've shared my X accounts. Ox Gordian, that is 0xGordian. So that's my account. Yeah. Are there any other questions just to like brush it up a bit? Okay. 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 Let me see. Question. Okay, you just asked one. Let me check. Let me check. Okay, is there something like reports writing in hold on. Is there something like reports writing in the field of technical writing? Yeah, there is something. There is something. I won't say there is something, but then it is actually there. Reports writing actually exists in technical writing, but it is always treated as one type of like it's always like treated more of like a one. It's always treated more of like a one branch thing, more like an entire technical writing of itself. So um reports basically helps to uh it basically helps to explain the processes, the walkthroughs, the findings that you are actually doing, just like I said, like just like this the name says report writing, how the developer actually what were the metrics? Did the developer get green prompts? Did they get yellow prompts? Did they get red prompts? So your job would be to make sure that you make this analysis very clear so that it would actually be communicated in very comprehensive manner to developers or engineers, irrespective of whatever they do. There is actually report writing in research, it's there in software engineering, it's there in open source, and a lot of other fields. So report writing is actually one of the stuff. And you can also do report writings for bugs when you find bugs on technical projects. For example, developer SDKs, there are always bugs sometimes. Like I said, hackathons actually make room for that to actually get fixed because when they use that, there would always be bugs. Your job as a technical writer could actually be there to help review PRs. PRs are basically pushed repos. Developers actually get to go in there and push fixes that the core engineers of the team haven't actually done just to help contribute to the growth of that platform or SDK. And your job as the technical writer in this particular niche called report writing would be to go in and write the problem that it's actually fixed, the problem that it was, and how it got to come up in the first place. So yeah, it's always structural and it is always formal as possible. There is no motions or anything or whatsoever. There are always things like graphs, and etc. I I do also believe that there are also there's also like a difference in technical writing and that of report writing. Technical writing actually focus more on guides, tutorials, and documentation and etc. Like SDK. While report writing is more of like analysis of the project itself, the information that you're trying to present. So necessarily report writing actually really help to fix, not necessarily fix problem. It's not necessarily to onboard developers, but it's to help provide, uh, I would say, a database, or I would say a structured documentation of what actually got to the developers, so that it can be fixed. There can be new features created, so that that experience could be seamless. So when you're doing report writing, you're more of like trying to document to the team that are building that product, and then they can actually get to go in there, make use of that, and solve the problem, so that developers will get to experience a better onboarding process through the technical writing format that you are actually creating, whether it's in guides, tutorials, and documentation demos. I don't know if I answered your question. Okay. Um. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah. So I'm going to say this. The different types of, I mean, we've gone through these for almost an hour. So yeah, we're going to do this like some other day. But then yeah, I actually really enjoy getting to do this. I really feel terrible that I didn't actually get to use my PC to do that, but I'm definitely going to do this. So yes, you can actually get to contribute to technical writing as a writer. Sorry, to technical writing projects, to companies. You could get paid for being a technical writer. You could be a freelance technical writer, write for technical, for organization, for companies, and get paid for it. You can write technical articles on different technologies, cloud, APIs, DevOps tools. There's so many things you can write about, so many technologies. But you always have to keep in mind, make sure you understand how they work, and then every single thing you're writing about will be seamless. And of course, it will make things more easier for you, and you also learn along the way. So you start with the simple things, the things you are learning, but then there have to be technical writing bursts. I'm not talking about documenting about your process, your growth, and all that. It's not technical writing, except or particularly it's focused on technical writing. Yes, developer tools, developer technologies, anything that has to do with technical teams is, and you're writing things about them, technical project, anything technical, it's automatically a technical writing documentation. And these are always universally known. Every single way, nothing changed. X is X, B is B, except there are always differences in the way they actually go through it. For example, they could say X can't go through Y, but then they could come in and say Y can actually also go through X. And then there are also explanations or guides on how to do this easily as well. Nothing is based on fact, assumption, or hypothesis. I would leave room for more questions just to round it up. And then, yeah, okay. I don't think we have, hold on. I don't think we have any other question right now. So, do we? Um, Okay, I don't think we have any other question. But then I am really hoping to do this once again with you guys. But then in a more practical form this week, please make sure to be there. Every single thing that I've probably been talking probably might sound gibberish to you right now, but then you get to understand it. I'm going to show you how to push a repo, how to make a PR, how to fork a project. Fork a project is basically duplicating a project, and you can decide if you want to contribute to the project itself. For example, it's just like you copying and pasting something, and you can decide if you, when you're making changes to the copied, the pasted, the copied project or probably item, if you want it to automatically update on to automatically get contributed or sent to the project that you copied it from. So just like when you duplicate a file, the same thing works with working a particular repo. It's FORK. Just to clarify that. And yeah, it was really nice talking to you guys. We're going to do this once again this week, and I really hope you guys actually learned a lot. And I hope I answered all your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gordian Etim. Okay, your session was definitely a blast. I know a whole lot of yes, gifts. I agree with you. You learned a lot. We learned a lot. Okay, Gordian, we really look forward to doing this whole stuff again. Yes. So today was day 3, guys and girls. We got to see writing from the perspective of a senior developer advocate. Yes, that's the man. Gordian 18. Um, just so you know, you can't see Gordian and Batman in the same room at the same time. Just so you know. Uh-huh. And for real, it's been a very insightful section. I want to apologize firstly for those who would be hearing this recording after. The first 30 minutes is missing. Yes, some issues, technical issues came up, but at least those people that came on time were definitely among the early bears that got the early ones. So once again, if you know you didn't register for this, please go and register. Okay, go and register. It helps us keep track of the numbers and follow up with other things. Yes. As for the recordings, we will definitely um you know upload them to YouTube. Okay, and follow us on our socials. Join our community if you haven't. Okay, we still have a whole lot of stuff and stock for you. Okay, so Gordian, you have something.
Yeah, I do. So I don't know. Would it be possible for us to have like a second round of this particular session, probably like 30 to 40 minutes, so people can actually get to probably know what it's like to create a GitHub account, or maybe get to contribute to their first project, and then just so I could walk them through this particular guide that I would be showing sending to the team uh before the end of tomorrow, and then also getting to yeah, one thing again, getting to show them places where they can actually get to learn how to move deep into technical writing. Is it possible that can be done this week?
Sure. Anything for the community. Yes, Gordian.
Okay.
We'll definitely keep in touch immediately after this
uh,
call.
all
Okay,
right.
so you guys have seen we had 3 days in mind, but there is one day Jara. Okay, so buy three get one free type of stuff. Yes, and we'll definitely be in touch with everyone. So once again, go and register so you know when the bonus day is going to be. Okay, come with your questions. All right, come with your questions. Come prepared. Okay, he's going to come with his bulletproof vest, and you'll come with your guns. All right. So thank you once again to everyone. Special thanks to you, Gordian and team, for sharing us wisdom and insights to this whole space. Shout out to Brian, who's our program manager for the How to Contribute as a Writer workshop. Shout out also to the core team at OSN. And someone asked the question, what did the person ask? Okay, how can we register? Oh, you can register, but you know what? Let me try and locate the link. Okay, you know what? I don't have it off at. We use the Luma link, but if you check our X accounts, you should be able to just catch up and know where exactly we are at the moment. Let me just type it right now in the comment section. So it's actually x.com / open source nest, literally. Then follow us on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn, and we also have a Discord server, so feel free to stop by and say hi. So here you go, Miriam. Just check it, and you most likely see the link for registration. Okay, sorry I did not have it off heart. So yeah, that'll be all for now. Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and I hope to see you in the bonus section. Okay, have a nice night. Bye.